An early morning snowfall sweeps its way across Bristol Airport. Snow may be less common in our part of the world these days, but at the second highest airport in the country, it's a regular feature of the winter months. As temperatures drop to freezing, every departing aircraft needs a coating of de-icing fluid. Even the slightest build-up of ice on the wings can cause major and possibly catastrophic problems on takeoff. It's also a time of year when many long for a warmer, sunnier climate to escape the cold and damp, possibly for good. Today is moving day for Zeus, a 12-month-old Doberman.
Zeus, come! There, sit down, sit down, sit down.
His owner, Deborah Devlin, is emigrating to Cyprus and has decided to take Zeus as well, along with his companion, a 12-year-old Scottie called Frampton.
I'm sure that they're going to be a little bit nervous, doing something they've never done before, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. It's a long flight, but at the other end, they're going to have a really good time. You're going to be worried, yeah, but you'll be a good boy. You'll be safe, you'll be safe. So it's a bit worrying. I shall be thinking about them the whole time. I shall be so distracted, but I'm worrying about them the whole time. But that's the way I am. I don't know, I'm just going to be thinking, every time the plane bubbles and, I'm going to be thinking, the poor little things, they're down there all on their own, Mum's not with them. So it's going to be a bit worrying for me, but Zeus obviously is going to be a little bit of a problem with people that he meets on his journey, going to the kennel and things like that. But Frammy, I think he'll take it all in his stride, hopefully. There you are, darling. That's going to be home for an hour. You stay there, chick.
Frampton and Zeus are going to begin their journey before Deborah. Although they'll be flying to Cyprus on the same plane, they have to spend at least a couple of days before the trip at a kennels.
There. One.
Frampton's ready to go, but how will Zeus take to the first part of such a long journey?
Sit. Now you be a good boy, come on. In the car? Come on in. There's a good boy. Go on then, sit down. Good boy. Sit down then. Good boy. That's the bit I was dreading.
Paul Allison is at the controls of the traffic spotter plane for the last time, as he'll soon be leaving the airport to fly commercial jets elsewhere.
The way it works is I literally scoot around the city for a couple of hours, making sure I picked up every queue, going off to find accidents, checking out roadworks. I've got a guy who chats up to me from the ground via this kit here. It's basically a bit newfangled, and there aren't many of these in the country because obviously not many people do this job, but it's car radio, so I can hear the radio stations, and then via this switch I can hear the studio, which is where my ground anchor is, passing up the information. He also takes the feed and dials me into another station using another ISDN line. This is so I can and can't hear Paul, so I've got the luxury of turning him off. At the moment we're dialed into a Mendit transmitter, so somebody does that from the ground via an expensive phone line called an ISDN line. They dial into that transmitter, and that transmitter links up with this plane. So when the weather's bad or on funny days, you can get dodgy connections and it can't be heard. But at the moment we seem to have ironed out most of the problems, and I'm getting my bulletins out on time, which is good.
Over build-up areas we're not allowed to fly below 1,500 feet. So all the time I'm making sure that we're not over built-up areas. If we are, then we climb into a safe height. It's basically so we're not in danger in case we have an engine failure, and we can get clear of that area. In places where it's not built up, if we're flying over the valleys and everything, we can drop it down a bit lower. Normally following the M5 up towards Gloucester area, it's quite open space with just the road, so we're quite happy to follow up the side of that road around about 1,500 feet, and Alice gets a good view of the traffic, and normally some accidents up on the way towards Gloucester. We normally circle there, have a quick look, and then continue on to the next tram.
South of Bristol, Paul and Alice are alerted to the first major traffic problem of the morning rush hour. But at 2,000 feet, finding their way to the exact location can sometimes prove a little difficult.
Where is he?
About to come up with Bob.
That's fine. If you make the turn, I suggest you make it to the right rather than to the left. It's southhill, heading towards the mast now.
Roger. If you see him, please feel free to shout.
Will do. You know I always do.
Because we don't fly set routes, it's normally in the aviation industry, you're normally taken off to go to a specific area or a specific airport with a specific route. Normally we get airborne at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I've got 2 hours and I've no idea where I'm heading off to. I know it's somewhere far north, it's possibly Birmingham, across to Swindon, down south as far as Southampton. So it's quite a large area, and it's a nice, interesting challenge to work your way around the area.
Okay, Paul, can we take this line along the river, stay this side of the river,
Okay.
and then fly all the way out to the A46? You know that roundabout with the dual carriageway right at the top of Bath?
Yep.
Yeah, if we can take that route, that'd be awesome. Thanks, mate.
No problem.
3, 2, 1, mark. Taking news on the Phone Ranger hotline, there's been a nasty accident on the A46. It's just before you get to the Cold Ashton roundabout on the northbound, but it's single lane carriageway there, so we've got slow moving traffic on both directions on the A46, and getting out of Bath virtually impossible. Queues all the way back to the Swainswick roundabout. I'm currently 2,000 feet above London Road. We've got the usual queue on the inbound there, down at the lights junction with Cleveland Bridge. Cleveland Bridge itself seems to be a clear run in both directions. Lower Bristol Road stacking back at the lights at junction with Windsor Bridge, and the Upper Bristol Road, well, that's not looking too bad for the time being, but I'm sure it won't last for long.
Zeus and Frampton have spent their first night at the kennels. It's time now to meet the vet whose first job is to check Zeus's microchip number.
Oh, I can read it. That's great. 9422. That's right. It's crazy, isn't it? But I don't think I would be very happy letting him on the airline without knowing that he was okay, especially a Doberman with their funny old hearts. You're going to open your mouth. Come on, soldier. Good boy. You are such a good frightened, aren't you? Thank God for those big wormers. There. Go on. Oh, what a brave boy. Now film him spit it out straight away. The requirements for Cyprus are that they are wormed, which I've just done with a complete wormer, and sprayed for ticks. That's the requirement for Cyprus. Come on, sweetheart. Good boy. This is really uncivilised. It really is on a cold day. A very cold day. It's a very fine spray, and it goes into the coat, and it kills ticks, which is what they're worrying about. Killing me. Kill the handler as well. And you rub it in, and it works very well, and it's very brave. And it was very brave. You're being very good. Right.
And if that's not enough, there's a further indignity to come. It's time to take the Doberman's temperature.
Good.
Very good person.
You are
Good boy. It's good, that.
there. Then we know you're not ill, and you can go on the plane. It'll be the Yorkie that'll be the problem. We'll go fun.
It's a good boy.
That's normal. You can go. Go to sunnier climes, eh, lad? That's lovely.
From the sublime to the ridiculous.
Hello, Wrigglebum. Hello.
So little.
How are you on time?
Tail going.
19851. This is the pet passport that they get. It comes in 2 forms with the same book. This one, you have the identification of the owner. There, this is Devlin. And then the identification of the animal, Zeus, Doberman, male, number. That's the number I checked, and that's what it was. Lots of noughts, as you can see. and the position of the microchip there, and that's the identification of the animal.
It's just amazing, isn't it, how they change. You see, he's probably top dog at home. And it's like going to school, I suppose, isn't it? It's like being a boarder at school. It's a bit of a shock.
And leaving animals can be something of an ordeal for their owners as well.
We've had people in tears that don't want to leave them and won't bring them. They get somebody else to bring them. I had one lady come in and she was absolutely breaking her heart. And I said, what is the problem? She said, I can't bear to leave him. And I said, well, what if you were leaving him forever and you weren't taking him with you? And she said, well, I hadn't thought of it in that way. But she said, he can't talk. He can't tell me what he's feeling. And yeah, I can understand them. They're all part of the family unit. And it's like one of the family travelling. But the children can say, I don't like this, but the dogs can't. They get very stressed, very stressed. We have to give them a cup of tea sometimes and sit them down before they can go home.
Airside safety officers Mike Hawkins and Jim Calloway are on a busman's holiday. They're keen aircraft enthusiasts and have been invited to Manchester Airport for the day to check out some of the flights and facilities. As the Air Southwest plane comes into land, it looks as though it's going to be a fine day for spotting. But on the ground, things become less clear. A thick Manchester fog has drifted across the airport. For Mike and Jim and the other enthusiasts, just being able to see the passing aircraft, let alone being able to spot vital identification marks, is going to prove rather difficult.
321s and 3-1.
For everyone on the special viewing platforms, there's no option but to wait and hope the fog will lift.
Nice there, like Amsterdam.
And the waiting pays off.
It's the first time I've seen that one. First Pakistani 777 that I've seen that one. So yeah, very nice. We got 3 of those, brand new ones.
Is that a Trent on there, Mike, or is the
I think it's a Rolls-Royce Trent, I think so, on there, yeah. Technology's evolved. Years ago, you'd have had 4 engines, like the 747 passing behind it, passing in front of it, sorry. Whereas nowadays, they can do the same on 2. I can recall aircraft that I've previously seen, or I know that I've seen, so there's certain aircraft that I know that I definitely need to see, or that I put a question mark against. So there's a Continental going out now, so I'll write that down because I haven't seen all of those in their fleet. Phenomenal, isn't it? At Manchester, on a good day, I might make 50 new aircraft. On a bad day, maybe not quite as many. I'm interested in aircraft design as well, performance figures. You'd never think what aircraft can fly out of Bristol nowadays, where they can go to. 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, you would never think that you could get to somewhere like Gambia or Egypt. Today, I mean, there's aircraft over there which you don't see at other airports around the country. So that's what makes it interesting coming to Manchester for the day. Bristol's different again. Bristol gets aircraft down there and airlines that you probably won't see up here. So every airport has got its own character and identification what goes in there. You can see a 757-300 over there. It's extremely long, narrow-bodied aircraft. We've never had one of those in Bristol.
But Concorde has been seen in Bristol, and now one of the supersonic jets takes pride of place in a static display in Manchester. Just seeing the plane means a lot to Jim, since members of his family were heavily involved in the project.
But there's undoubtedly about it, it's a very, very sleek, fast, fantastic piece of machinery. Shut the door, it's getting cold.
In their day in Manchester, the best has been saved till last.
You know, out of Bristol, they got a really good performance as well.
For the 2 enthusiasts, a visit has been laid on to one of the largest aircraft hangars in Europe. The enormous building is big enough to accommodate several football pitches.
How many hours would this one have flown so far? Is it the 1,200 hours?
This has gone about 18.
Today, Mike and Jim are being given a guided tour around 2 aircraft which have been brought in for servicing.
So how many guys you got working in here usually? So for an A320 check?
For Zeus and Frampton, it's travel day. For Zeus in particular, the stay at the kennels appears to have turned him into a different dog.
Hello, baby. I think the thing is, it's just a totally different environment. It's a totally different atmosphere. And so when they come in, the people are stressed, the dogs are stressed because the people are stressed because they do take from the people. So if we have them in here, we manage to calm them. But also, if we have a dog, which is very, very, very rare, if we ever have a dog which is perhaps very stressed, then we can take advice on what we do. But I have to say, in the last 15 years, we haven't had one. They've come in, even if they've been aggressive or nervous, we've managed to calm them down, and I don't think we've had a problem, not at all. And we do have an awful lot of dogs, you know, that we do send out. Steady.
It's time to introduce the dogs to the specially built boxes, which will be their temporary homes until they reach Cyprus in the evening.
Oh, that's a good boy.
With their travelling companions, a Labrador and a poodle from Somerset, their long journey begins with a short ride to the airport's freight centre.
I've got 3 for you today, 2 for Alicante, 2 separate lots for Alicante on 2 airway bills, and then I've got 2 for Paphos, which are on the same airway bill.
Okay, that's great.
There's a form there for the captain to complete.
For the freight centre, animal transfers are becoming something of a booming business.
But the little Yorkie is nervous.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know, just keep an eye.
We didn't even realise when we opened last year that we would be flying any animals at all. And now we have up to perhaps 20 animals a week on a very good week. So it's big business for us.
Okay, sweetheart.
A few weeks ago, we had a macaw come through from Alicante, so that was an experience, and also quite a few other inquiries for other types of animals, canaries, and we've just had an inquiry today for someone who wants to fly pigs to Africa in January, so it covers a wide range of different types of animals.
Good boy, Zeus. Which should we take first? Take the small one first. There's a little one. Here we are.
The kennels van isn't allowed near the aircraft, so the dogs have to be taken off and loaded onto a different one.
None of these dogs have ever been plated before. And, OK, the little Yorkie is coming into his own now. He's not shaking. He's just quite full of it. But these are quite laid back about everything. There we are. That's our job finished now. We'll go home and prepare the next lot.
The British weather has returned with a vengeance. For anyone off to the sunshine, there isn't a better time to be leaving. Dave Curran's on hand to help load the dogs onto the waiting aircraft.
Off to sunny Paphos. A little bit better than blustery Bristol. Has this all been signed for?
No, not yet. They're
Right.
not on there. They're not on yet.
Can I go with them?
The dogs will be making the journey in one of the aircraft's holds. It's fully pressurised and heated, and Zeus and Frampton's owner, Deborah, will be seated just above them.
Let me just... Right, I'm going to stay in the hold with them so I don't have to come back. Say bye-bye. Bye, mate.
And finally, it's Frampton's turn to go on board.
Don't worry about that. Right. Say bye-bye again. Last look. And that's that.
Deborah will also be pleased to see the back of the British weather. She hasn't been able to watch her dogs being loaded into the aircraft, but knows they all face a flight of more than 4 hours before landing at Paphos in Cyprus. She's hoping for a smooth and uneventful journey, if only for the dog's sake. The Labrador and Poodle are being loaded onto a separate plane. Their new home is going to be in Spain, and their 2-hour flight will take them first of all to Alicante. Dogs and cats and other animals are becoming regular travellers to and from the airport at Bristol. So much so, a great deal of thought is being given to possibly setting up a dedicated facility for pet transfers. There's no restriction, apart from some obvious exceptions for weight and size, on the type of animals that can now be transported. One of the most unusual of the year was a group of penguins who were flown to a zoo in the Canary Islands. The Britannia flight left Bristol and arrived in Cyprus on time. Both Frampton and Zeus were safely in their new home on the same day. They're now enjoying a much warmer and certainly drier climate than if they'd stayed at home.